Hey guys, so there are a lot of units coming out between now and then whatever units are going to be announced for JP's 1.5 year anniversary. So I wanted to make a should you summon kind of video for all of these characters. Just to preface this, if you love a specific character, then just summon on them. You know, you don't always have to summon for meta. But the problem is, if you are free to play, and you do care about clearing the hardest content, and you care about having a very strong box, unfortunately, this game doesn't give you enough cubes and has too high of a pity to warrant summoning on units that aren't good. So because of that, I'm making this video, right? So first, because we're getting the JJK0 rerun and it's confirmed, I'm going to go over Yuta. For those of you that don't know, Yuta is a Curse Tech AoE DPS. He's definitely very good, but if you have Toge, I don't recommend summoning on Yuta. Again, unless he's your favorite character of all time and you really care about him or something like that. The reason why is because yes, he's good, but Toge does everything he does, and often even better. Toge is better at clearing off-color content, Toge has more consistent damage, Toge is tankier. Yuta of course has great utility too. He has a nice debuff on his skill 2 now, he has team healing, and his burst is much higher than Toge's, so he's not bad by any means. But another consideration you have to take into account is that Toge eventually gets put into the standard banner. So you'll have A5 Toge at a certain point in the future if you continue playing this game. A5 Toge versus A1 or A0 or A2 Yuta, he's never going to be able to compete with A5 Toge, assuming that Yuta's going to stay limited forever, which is very likely. So while he is good, and if you don't have Toge, I could see a very good reason to summon for him. I don't recommend that people who do have Toge pull on him. It's just not worth it in my opinion, because there's just too many good units coming out that you need to save for. So this one isn't going to depends on box for me. You're free to disagree, but this is what I think makes the most sense. JJK0 Ghetto. Ghetto is he does pretty decent damage as a blue DPS, but it's nothing special. So I'm going to focus on his primary mechanic, which is this ability here. He's able to put a 50% C-Tech damage taken decrease to the enemy up to 3 turns. So that's 150%, which is huge, right? It's a very nice debuff. But the thing is, if you have Gakuganji, he does what Ghetto does, but for both physical tech and C-Tech, and he does it in an AoE. So there's no content actually out in the game currently that requires Ghetto. Gakuganji is straight up better or just as good in all of those pieces of content where you can use a debuffer. So he's also very hard to justify pulling for anyone that's free to play. Of course he is good, and he will make units like Yuta or Sukuna or other C-Tech damage dealers like the Gojos hit a lot harder. But do you need him is the question, and the answer is very clearly no. You don't need Ghetto. If you're missing Domain Megumi and you're missing Gakuganji because you didn't pick him up during his banner, or you have no debuffers, then he gets a bit more value for your account, and you can consider picking him up. But he also goes in depends on box, or no for me. But depends on box is a decent place to put him, so that's where I'll put him here. Miguel is a tanky character with a bit of utility. So this is his main utility skill, where he gets to remove enemy buffs. This is kind of what Toge does, in a sense. And he does that on his ult as well. So he's useful for that specific niche, but that is not, like, it doesn't warrant pulling for him. You don't need him in any content, and he's just bad, in my opinion. He's very bad. So he goes into no tier very easily. Sukuna. So this is one where a lot of people will have a bunch of mixed opinions, right? Because, as you guys know, or some of you might not know, but this unit right here, where is he? Jogo. He gets buffed in JP with the SP system, and his SP buffs are very good. He becomes a top tier DPS, the second strongest blue DPS right behind Sukuna. So he's usable for all the floors in 61 through 80, and the future blue content Jogo will be able to clear. Of course, that doesn't mean he's as strong as Sukuna, but you do have that availability. And he's free. You can just buy him and buy dupes of him in the shop, right? Even so, I still think Sukuna is a yes. I still think you should summon on Sukuna, because one, he's limited, and even though Jogo does clear content just fine when it's blue, the gap between him and Sukuna is still quite large, just like in the actual anime. Sukuna is very, very strong, and the amount of value he'll bring to your team or to your box as a blue DPS is massive. Especially because blue is pretty weak. Blue doesn't have that many good damage dealing characters. And blue Gojo can't be paired with DE Gojo, while Sukuna definitely can, right? So in just a lot of ways, he's still a very worthwhile pickup in my opinion. And again, he is a limited character, so there is a lot of value in that as well. It's very unlikely that Sukuna will get power crept in the blue DPS role anytime soon. So I would still recommend that if you do have enough cubes to pull on him, he's worth considering at least. I'm not saying all in because we don't know what the 1.5 year units are and they might be really broken. But definitely consider pulling him if you have enough cubes to justify it. Miwa is bad. She's just a filler unit, has some counter decent utility with some taunts, but she's not good. She doesn't really do any meaningful damage and her utility isn't that useful. There are floors where I'm sure she'll be able to be used. Like it's not that she's useless so that you can't use her, but she's not going to be the best option and you'll never need her for anything. So she goes in no tier. Muta is a great AoE green DPS, but again, because of all these units, like look at what we have. We have Yuta, we have Ghetto, we have Sukuna, and then we have all the 1.5 year units coming out. And this is all within the next 3 months or 3 or 4 months or so. So we just don't have the availability. HP Gojo is a good enough green DPS for all the content out right now. There's no content in the game currently out that can't be cleared with HP Gojo. In the future, HP Gojo loses a bit of value because of his 7-turn restriction, but in my opinion, both him and Blue Gojo are going to be receiving some kind of buffs through the SP system to make them more viable and fit with the later content. Because in floor 61 through 80, the problem is that the fights take a very long time. So it's usually hard for Gojo to get all of his damage off before leaving because the floors have like 60 million HP and there's no way Gojo can do 60 million HP in 7 turns. So I think that they're going to be buffed. And because of that, I don't think units like Muta are worthwhile. They're not needed. So I would definitely put him into no tier. Also because there are good enough replacements for him. If you have, again, HP Gojo for current content, or also Green Megumi for later content, they both replace him just fine. And Green Megumi will be out as part of the second standard banner update, so most of us will likely be able to pick him up, at some point at least. Then we have SSR Toge. Toge is a decent like sub DPS. He has a stun, he has a red specific Taijutsu and Jujutsu damage received debuff. He's good, but he's not anything special. Definitely not worth picking up. He is strong, of course, it's just you don't need him for anything, so he's not worthwhile. SSR Shoko, so this is one of the ones, actually Toge can go in here. He is great for certain red team setups if you want to burst, so if you're a big spender, yeah, pick him up, why not? Kind of like SSR Blue Toge, kind of a very similar role. And then SSR Shoko. So Shoko is absolutely broken, but only for yellow. That is the problem, right? She has this increases enemy damage received by 15%, so it's a debuff, while also buffing your allies by 62% C-Tech and P-Tech stat for 3 turns. This is equivalent to Yaga's 4-turn buff essentially, SR Yaga. Of course, it's only effective for yellows, but this makes her completely broken. She's unbelievably broken for yellow, and it's not even close to any other character that could fill her spot. But because she only works for yellow, she's again not someone that free-to-play players should be pulling on. She goes into spenders only for sure. Because free-to-play players can't be pulling for a unit that only works for one color. Especially when there are so many other priority units that are going to come out, right? We don't know what's coming in 1.5, but there's no way those characters won't be broken because ideally they're going to be designed to help clear 61 through 80. So they're definitely going to be insane characters, whatever they are. Maki is a very strong physical blue DPS, which is a niche that we don't have in this game. SR Maki is not up to par for endgame content, and then Blue Yuji is also pretty bad. Blue Nanami is not that great. So she's very, very good. But again, she fills one very specific role, a blue physical DPS, right? Definitely goes in spenders only. a great unit, just not worth pulling on for any free-to-play players. Mei is like, from what I've seen, she seems to be a worse version of Toji. So although she does fill the role of a physical / hybrid red DPS, we have Red Yuji, who's not that bad. People clown on him, but he's actually not bad at all. And then of course Toji, who's going to be in Standard Banner 2.0, and also is, a lot of people already have him, and he's very, very good. He's broken. So Mei goes in no tier for me, definitely. Unless you love her, of course, again. And then, yeah, I mean, I can look at her kit real quick, but there really isn't much to show. She just does damage, raises her own damage, puts a little debuff, does damage, does more damage. Not very complicated. Now Ino is a damage dealer who is blue, and he does some taijutsu damage, does some jujutsu damage, and also more jujutsu damage over here. So he's like kind of like a mixed damage dealer, but mostly C-Tech. Nothing special, definitely a filler unit. He goes in no tier, definitely. So these are my recommendations. Unless there's a specific character here that you love, of course you can pull on them. But Sukuna is definitely worth pulling on, despite the fact that Jogo is going to be very strong, because Sukuna is just that broken. And who doesn't love Sukuna, right? But if you don't want to pull for him because you hate Sukuna, don't worry, you don't need to. Jogo does clear all the blue content currently out in JP. As far as I'm aware, he clears it okay, although he has a harder time than Sukuna does, obviously. He's strong enough to be your main C-Tech blue DPS, for sure. So there is that consideration. These are all not worth pulling at all, in my opinion. Yuta and Ghetto, specific scenarios. If you're missing Toji, missing a strong red DPS, you can pull on him. And then if you're missing Gakuganji, you have no debuffers, you can pull on him too. Or if you just really want to make your C-Tech dealers hit very hard, then Ghetto is also a good option. Especially if you're trying to pair him with Sukuna and you don't have SSR Blue Toge, these two go very well together. And then these three, I think only moderate to large spenders should be pulling on them, because they provide very good value, but for a very small niche, and that's just not worth considering for free-to-play players. Okay, I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments. And again, you're free to disagree. I have no problem with anyone disagreeing with any of this. I'm just putting my opinions out there in case it could help some people make decisions. Because we don't get a lot of cubes, right? So we have to be very smart and very careful with what we pull on. Okay, I hope this is helpful. Bye guys. Sorry, I forgot, but there's one more thing I wanted to say. So in terms of floor 61 through 80, there's a lot of fear mongering going on right now, talking about, oh, you can't clear it without Zone Yuji, you can't clear it without SSR Yaga, you need SSR Shoko, you need Saki to clear it, you need, Zone Yuji, you have to have Toji, you have to have Red Nobara and Yuta for this floor. A lot of these comments are getting thrown around, and I just wanted to say, don't worry about any of that. For us free-to-play or light spenders, we're not supposed to clear the content on day one. It's not going to be an instant thing for us. They're going to release more grades, higher grades, better resources, more SP buffs, better upgrades for our characters, more characters that come out that are going to be very, very strong, because there's no way that the 1.5 year units won't be able to help significantly for 61 through 80 in some way. So don't worry about all these comments, and even now, every day, new strategies come out for these stages that people swore couldn't be cleared any other way. It's fine, don't worry too much about it, don't stress. We'll find ways to do it, we're gonna be okay. So don't worry about trying to pull and schedule for 61 through 80 if you're a free-to-play player, because there's no way you can, it's just not possible. So just save diligently, pull on the units that you know are good, and that are guaranteed to be good for a long time, and we'll be okay. Don't worry about the future. There's no way they're going to lock content behind a paywall. We're going to clear it just fine, and we'll get through it, even if it takes us longer than it does for the big spenders, right? So yeah, just wanted to leave you guys with that, and make sure I said it so that, yeah, I don't have to keep typing it to everybody that I interact with. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Bye guys.